Hello, it's a SIG Node, weekly meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. Welcome, everybody. I think it's the last meeting of this year. We can discuss next meeting later, but probably we'll cancel it. So first and most important topic for this meeting was 126 retro and 127 planning. I congratulate everybody with release of 126. It's time to start doing 127. Oh, before I did that, I want to say that so of PR started. So I think Dims is doing a great job of cleaning up PRs. Ronald, I know, approving stuff. I closing PRs that are not very needed or has some long-standing issues. So yeah, we're down to 196, below 200, which is great news. Let's keep working on that, and I think we can clean up a lot of things before New Year. So with that, let's go into 126 retro. And I need to share my screen. Sharing. You should be able to see my screen now.
Yep.
Okay. Let's walk through the list of caps that Raven prepared for us that were merged in 126. And then once we go through that, we can discuss what went well, what went badly, so we can help ourselves with the next release. So first, Kubernetes credential provider. We keep making progress. This is not the very important cap because we want to minimize the tree and tree dependencies. So we want to, like, this is needed for everybody. Community will definitely benefit from that. But it's hard to find people for this kind of work. And I'm glad we're making progress here. Metrics, we did some progress on metrics as well, which is a great news. Is there any comment on this cap? Okay, no comments here. Evented flag. So we keep making progress in minimizing kubelet. I think evented flag will help us a lot in terms of kubelet overhead. We entered alpha, which is good. If you want to try it and give feedback on, especially on reliability of these events, it would be great. Dynamic resource allocation. Yeah, we did progress here as well. Solid improvements around devices. Retriable, non-retriable port failures, it get into beta, which is very good news. Many HPC workloads will benefit from that by saving resources when something got started for the night and suddenly discovered some issue. We will not waste all the customer resources any longer, as they can configure it properly. Okay, multi-NUMA alignment topology manager. I have very little to say about it beyond that topology manager needs to be GA soon.
Actually, this is slightly different. This was an addition to topology manager, and topology manager policy options were introduced as part of this cap. And the specific prefer closest NUMA node was the first policy option that was introduced.
Yeah, what I meant is topology manager itself would be great to GA, and new policies are always great. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you, Swati. CPU manager, G8. So we started the GA in managers. We already discussing resource manager plugins. And the first step is to graduate whatever we have in tree. So we have a solid foundation to build on. So CPU manager, device manager were graduated. Yay. Yeah, that's all caps. I think historical statistics is we're doing okay. We're doing, I would say, average release in terms of number of caps. And I'm not sure whether we have data on how many we missed that were in the, yeah, I think we missed a few. At least I missed some myself. Yeah. So if anybody has a comment on what went well and what didn't went well this release, please speak up.
I'm trying to look at the top here. I feel like we've kind of settled into a sustainable pace, like between maybe 8 and 12 things in a given release. I think that's good. It shows like some consistent velocity. I'm curious if people are upset by that velocity.
I think that's where I think that's our capacity, Derek. And I think depending on the size of things, we just go up or down that number.
Okay.
I can say that one thing that didn't go well is we needed to ask Mark to apply milestones to our caps during the cap planning stage. Mark, I cannot say more thanks to you, but thank you for your time.
No problem. Yeah, I think that there was a little bit of issues this round with a bunch of SIGs not like just with the chairs and TLs not having the right access. But we're getting that sorted out on the release team.
Anything else? Was there any troubles with API reviews this time around? I feel that we only had like one cap that needed some API review, but it was CRI API, not the API.
So DRA was big, right? And I'm sure it had some API components, but I don't think we had problems with.
Yeah, I would put it as a good thing. We didn't have any problems with API reviews.
I think PRR reviews too. I think there was less like delays for PRR reviews this release.
Yeah, it's fair. Both went very smoothly. Even though we had less PR reviewers this time around, it still went very well. How about, I haven't been around during the code freeze stage. Was there any troubles getting things in last minute? I remember it was constant problem previously. We even introduced a soft freeze at some point to make sure that people not letting caps be around till the last minute.
Yeah, I think like some things did land during the last weeks, and that's always going to be an issue given folks have multiple things they are juggling. We can always aspire to try and merge things earlier in the cycle.
Did we use soft freeze this release? Sorry, I wasn't around.
I don't think we did. I mean, some of the items we tried to push real long. So like, I think until we get the in-place resource resizing thing over the hump, we should always identify that as like, that could have gone better. I know that, but I think actually we did a great effort to get that ready to be good to go.
If Vinay on call, what the story is in place update?
I think they had like David and Danielle helped with getting the CI stuff sorted out. So I think the PR is in a better state. So hopefully we can get it in sooner in 127.
Yeah, I understand we had some CI issues with release this time around, right? We had more test failures. Especially with SIG Group v2 transition. David, do you want to comment? You unmuted yourself.
I think the SIG v2 stuff is actually a little bit unrelated. That was just a test in for change. I don't think that's related to the release necessarily. That was kind of just, we were trying to update the OS images. Just happened to kind of coincide with the release, but I can add another one here. I think in general, I think looking overall, I feel like the SIG in general has kind of capacity for kind of one really big cap at any release. So like, I think this release we had two, right? We had the DRA and the in-place resize. And so like, I think we had to pick, you know, DRA was in kind of better condition and more tested and kind of more ready at that point. But I think that's something that like, we'll have maybe moving forward. Sometimes we have to kind of prioritize between two large caps, because it's hard to find bandwidth for two like that.
Wait for next release, we plan to do sidecars.
So I think one item on the went well is I think good collaboration across folks in Containerd and CRI-O to get evented like over the hump.
Yeah, I was trying to think about the budget comment. I feel like we struggle with a budget on external facing changes, but we seem to do better with internal facing stuff. So like, I think the Plex stuff, even when it spanned components outside of the direct SIG here, seemed to work smoothly. And I don't know if that's just a symptom of it's harder to change the API of Kubernetes than to improve the internal implementation.
I think makes sense to me. I think Derek also, given the conversations we had around like sidecar, like
Yeah.
agreeing on the API and the UI is always harder.
Actually, I was trying to think off the top of my head how many CRI changes actually happened, and if there were actually.
Yeah, you don't need to think about it. I have a agenda topic for this, and it has a list. So I wrote some CRI policy outlining the problem, and so in 126 we had Windows pod sandbox, host network, just documentation change and evented flag. So we had four big, three big and one small change.
Yeah. So I'm sure your cap is going to say why that's too big or too bad or too good or too awesome. But at least the transition to the CRI doesn't appear to be slowing our ability to evolve too much.
According to Dockershim.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wondered when we moved CRI to V1 if it was just going to be done, but it seems that we are open to continuing to iterate and add capability.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, is there, I think we, at time, I wanted to allocate like 15 minutes for this discussion. Is there any more feedback on how cap process went, or you want to share it in private somehow, we can start a Slack conversation. I think action items, I don't see any specific action items out of it beyond just do better planning and maybe try to do soft freeze again to just advocate for faster and earlier reviews. Any more comments on that, or we move to 127?
I think the only thing I'll just say I openly struggle with, and maybe we could all figure out ways to help, is people will reach out to discuss their KEP, and whether or not, you know, all the things that we have in a release, it is hard to keep all of this in our individual heads. And so I'm wondering if well, one, we should probably think about as we get to 127 if we can expand the list of folks maybe within domains that we are comfortable taking like approver on a KEP. Given if we look at the past 2 releases, I guess, but I just know personally it can be sometimes hard for me to keep everything in my head. And for those who I give feedback to, where I'm like, you know, can we just pick one of these 2 or 3 different things right now? It's largely just a consequence of trying to absorb everything that people bring forward. But it's just top of mind here that we, if there's people who have been working on particular domains, want to continue to refine it. Like I'm thinking about the device space. We did the resource management group and stuff. Maybe Kevin or Swati or others can start thinking about, you know, do you want to take ownership in that area around KEPs going forward? Just what can we do to give a little more specialization so that we can all save some brain capacity? I pick on the DRA one because I think that was one I gave feedback that, which says there were like 3 or 4 different concurrent resource management related ideas, and personally I struggled to absorb all of them. So
okay, it's a good thing, good addition. So we have 2 of them like this. I think are you mostly talking about early review by experts? So like there is less details to think about,
or just continuing to grow people's scope in the SIG, right?
Okay.
And so, you know, we're all working on really complicated areas, and so like, you know, particularly as we started the resource management group, maybe we can think about ways to grow enhancement scope with that. Because I think we are bottlenecked on KEPs generally by, I think maybe 2 or 3 people. One of them is me.
And there is also some secretarial work as well that needs to be helped with. Okay, is there any more feedback? Perfect. Let's move on to 127 planning. Oops, no, it's the wrong one. This one. I think what happened is Raven took everything that didn't fit into 126 and put it here, and people started adding more caps in the table. Okay. Make it bigger for everybody to see. Now, do you want to go through the list? You typically
Sure. I mean, yeah, we can. Yeah, I think maybe we could have ordered it, but it's okay. Let's try to get through as many of them as we can, because I think we want to give priority to things like in-place VPA that didn't make it in 126. All right. So first on the list, we have kubelet plugin model based off DRA. Marlo, are you around to talk about that one?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah.
Basically, we have a POC that works, but we haven't based it off DRA. So we have some more actual work to do to get that through, but we have dedicated resources to work on this. And I think we've spoken already. We've had our first working group meeting with that included Derek, Swati, and Kevin and Sergey. We're all there, and a variety of others, Francesco, myself, and Thomas. But we are also happy to help take some load off going forward. If there's other ways we can help with other things, just to minimize the impact for reviews, etc.
Yeah, I mean, and I think this is a great meeting where, you know, we are looking for folks to sign up for reviews and approvals as we go through the list. So,
Yeah, so we're happy to try to make it so that we're minimizing load on the team there. That would be helping us shuffle work around. So if you have ideas of how we can, we're happy to.
So for this particular KEP, do we have reviewers and approvers identified?
We
Do you consider the KEP actually ready, or are you viewing this as something you want to get into a good shape in the set of meetings we had this week last?
We want to get into good shape because we wanted to make sure that the shape of it was what the community wanted. So we still have one more meeting on Thursday to go through that, and then we can run forward on code. The code is not ready yet.
Derek, the meetings which is referred, is it like meeting minutes or recording available somewhere?
There is a recording. We need to get that to Sergey to get that there. And there's also been multiple posts in the channel with times and requests for people to give times.
Yeah, there's a calendar link, I think, but there's only been one meeting, Alex, to my knowledge.
Yeah, and the other one is Thursday.
Yeah, so I don't think if you miss something, it's a shame, but yeah, please join Thursday if you can. And I still think there's more discussion, but for those who weren't there, it was a general desire on what we can do to allow pluggable resource managers for those things that we don't just have in tree, or maybe ways we can evolve the things that we have in tree to fit a pluggable model. And it was a good discussion. So I think, yeah, it'd be great to have you there.
So maybe like we need to get the KEP in order, and alpha is the best case scenario for this one.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah,
You can add me as a reviewer for this KEP. If that helps.
Yeah, Swati, thanks so much for volunteering. And then I assume Kevin will be pretty active here as well.
Maybe, yeah, we can put Kevin as the approver, I guess. Right.
Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Yep.
Parallel image pools.
Yeah, Ribbon is not around. Is Paco around? I know, like they have a HackMD for a KEP here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be a reviewer here if anybody wants to be.
Yeah, you can add me as approver. This seems simple enough, so I think we should be able to review it.
Yeah, that's very straightforward improvement that will help with image pools.
Right. Next one is extend the pod resources API. Swati, can you talk to this one? Yeah.
I think Francesco volunteered to work on this one, but in general, this is like a resource endpoint within Kubelet, and the API itself has been graduated to GA, and we need to update. We need to graduate the feature to GA, and I'm sure Francesco is here to talk through it.
Yeah, but I think this is another one. This is about exposing the DRA allocation to produce the API. You're right, though. I was volunteering to review and help.
Oh, sorry, I completely misunderstood this one. Yeah.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it's close enough. So yeah, this is about pretty much what I know about. I had a brief, quick conversation with Kevin. Basically, they want to expose DRA allocation through the existing introspection endpoint. And as soon as I get more details from Kevin, I will be reporting, or he will be reporting. Someone will be reporting. And yes, I will be happy to review.
Great, sounds good. We
Do
have
you
a
want
plan
to
there.
find approvers for this? Or Kevin can be its own approver. Any takers? Yeah, that could take.
So,
Fine grain.
yeah, I made a pass at this one. That seems, again, simple enough. We may need some API review. So, but on the node side, it seems straightforward.
The next one is fine grain supplemental group. So,
Yeah. So that's the one I was talking about. So, Sergey, so that one is like, yeah, straightforward enough, and I can be the reviewer and approver on it. If anyone else wants to review as well, happy to work with them.
Topology manager.
Yeah, for this one, I remember last time we kind of were double checking and reiterating on the fact if we want to move ahead in this direction. So I wanted to discuss that. I have an agenda item as well about that. But if everyone is happy, I'm happy to volunteer to graduate this feature to GA.
And I think we should graduate it to GA, and anything we're discussing on the first topic that Marlo raised up needs to be inclusive of evolving this feature, right? So I don't think because we're discussing those other things, we should stop signaling to the community that it's safe to use this function, given its wide usage.
Yeah, sounds good.
I agree with that.
And like given the discussion we've had, it appears that some of the existing resource managers are going to transition into resource plugins. So even with that taken into consideration, I think graduation of this feature to GA makes sense.
Yeah, I think all the managers that are in tree should graduate to GA, and if the evolution of those things or their implementation approach changes, we discussed yesterday, right? Where that could just be a built-in plugin, right?
Yep.
But I don't want to put fear in people's hearts that it's not safe to use this function, given that I know it's widely used.
Do we keep policies as non-GA? Like we have new policy?
Maybe as a part of the resource plugin stuff, we can think about how that makes the policies options not need to be in perpetual non-GA. But I think we kind of recognize that that was never able to graduate when we had the discussion. So
yeah, and the policy options, they have a separate feature gate and separate process altogether. Like the individual options have different graduation process, and the policy option as a feature itself should have its own graduation process.
Perhaps Swati, you can add Marlo, you can recommend somebody to add as a reviewer for this gap. So it will be a review from perspective of resource manager plugins.
Yeah, we can have a Thomas review the other if that will help.
If you want, you can book me. I can try to help.
Thanks. And on the approvers, I put in Derek and Don. I'm not sure if there's anyone else who would be more suitable for this.
I'm fine to handle this.
Perfect. Thanks, Derek.
So on kubelet pod resources to GA, Francesco.
Yes, this is a simple one. It's about the kubelet server itself. as a feature gate to actually expose an answer to the pod resources endpoint whose API was already GA in 120. Actually, it's on me, which I didn't notice this before. Thank you to Sergey to notice that. So we want to graduate the server endpoint. So the kubelet can actually answer the APIs, which should be 90%. I expect it is to be documentation and handling the PRR review. So code-wise, expect this to be very simple.
I can do review.
Thank you.
Maybe Kevin can be the approver.
Yeah, about Kevin, he raised comments about the interaction of this work with the array work he was proposing and they are doing. I do think there is pretty much no interaction because the actual interaction would have been with the pod resource API proper, which is already GA. And there are conversation in progress. If there are any updates on this area, I will notify you folks.
Sounds good. Thank you. All right. So in place update. I mean, definitely we need to work on this one, get it merged. So reviewers, approvers, maybe Derek, you'll cover the final approval for this.
Yeah, sure. I think I did the earlier phases on this.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Right. So we haven't heard any updates on this one, and we didn't hear anything in 126 either. So this is basically waiting on author. This split STD out and STD log stream. So yeah. For add app armor support, I think it had missed the deadline. So we'll have to poke Tim Allclear again and see if he has the bandwidth to work on it. 127.
Yeah, I'll add comments later.
Okay. The next one is field. Can you open that? I don't remember where we ended up on this one. Okay, looks like it's waiting on author.
Just ping.
Yep, we need to ping. So sub-second, more granular probes. Mike Brown, are you around? Mike isn't on the call. We can follow up with him.
I can sign up to review that if it actually
Okay.
work.
Thanks, Daniel.
It's on column. Sidecars.
Yeah, so Sergey, you're gonna give an update, right? Maybe next meeting? Or...
Yeah. I will give an update.
I'm not even sure what to call it now. Keystone containers, sidecars.
Special sauce containers.
Yeah.
All right. QoS class resources. Sasha and team. Is anyone gonna give an update on this one?
Marcus is on call, so let him to speak.
Okay. Good.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. We'd like to have this in 127. So, yeah, I mean, we are ready to work on that. I don't know. Should we have a separate meeting, like near term, on that, or I don't know how to proceed with that to get merged. So.
Yeah, I think like we probably need to have a discussion on SIG Node to make sure we are all on the same page. So maybe we can queue something up for the next meeting on this topic.
Yeah.
Or this,
sure,
or
we
this
can.
could just be a topic in
Yeah.
the discussions that Marlo and team were pushing.
It's separate topic, Derek. So it's not related.
I understand it's a distinct use case. I was just trying to see if we could add that in. I wasn't sure if the meetings that we had yesterday or on Thursday would be exclusive to just resource management plugins, because
So question regarding the timing. So if we don't have any more SIG Node meeting this year, and the next opportunity will be like already in January, what is the deadline to get these caps approved? For 127.
Good question. Sorry, did you check? I can check with folks on SIG release.
Yeah,
Or
I
if
don't think, I don't think they published the schedule yet.
Okay.
yeah, I think we have time. I guess we do have another meeting Thursday though, if you want to join that. And I maybe I'm mistaken. I didn't think that that meeting was exclusive to the one subject. I thought it was inclusive of just these resource management related topics. So
Derek, you want resource management working group meetings, I think.
I don't necessarily want that. I guess mentally in my head, I thought all these things were coming from our friends at Intel, and I didn't quite realize that there were different segments or user populations therein. Maybe I was mistaken, so
Yeah, we have different customers. Happens.
We have multiple teams working on multiple things, not necessarily interconnected.
Yeah, but it's a shared plight that we all feel. Yeah, I know. So if we don't want to discuss this Thursday, then we could queue it up, as Mrinal said, for the next meeting.
Well, I guess we can have that. Yeah,
since
we can have that next Thursday as well. Sorry.
Go for it.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Let's discuss about this on Thursday if there is a meeting time for that. I missed that one, but yeah, sure. I'll give an update there.
All right. Thanks, Marcus.
So yeah.
I wanted to say something here. So hi, I'm Dikshita. I work for the Node runtime team at Google. I might be taking up this KEP, by the way. So if you could also include me in the Thursday meetings, it would be great. I'm just starting to ramp up on this, by the way. David brought it up in one of our meetings.
All right. You're talking about the QoS class resources, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think Derek or Marlo, maybe if we can put a link to that meeting in the notes, folks can join it.
Yeah, please do, or send to the SIG Node mailing list.
Yeah.
I don't think it's just been published there. So if you can send it to the mailing list, then it's easy to pick up.
Yeah, one thing to note is we ran out of time as it was, so I suspect we'll use the rest of it. If we need other meetings for other things, we should do that.
All right. Either way, like I said, it was my honest mistake that I thought maybe there was more one macro organization within Intel pursuing a set of topics, and I thought that this would have been one of those topics rather than. I appreciate the plight of big companies everywhere. So if it disrupts anything, we could just do this on our next SIG Node meeting.
So sounds like a plan. Thanks. So moving on to the next one, probe terminating grace period to GA. So Ryan is taking it on. Any reviewers?
I can hold the review. It's very straightforward.
Okay. I can be the approver. Should be straightforward. gRPC probes.
Sorry, just one more thing. If we can go back up for the memory QoS, can you add me and Dixie depletes to the reviewers?
So this is not the memory QoS, David.
Oh, this is not memory QoS. I'm sorry.
No,
okay.
this is yeah. This is QoS class resources. This is entirely.
I'm sorry. Okay, I mixed up.
Yeah,
okay.
if you need to, if you need to add memory QoS, it should be in this list somewhere.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So gRPC props, I'm not sure which mic and Paul this is. If you want to contact me, let's discuss. But yeah, this feature ready to be G8. Any reviewers, approvers?
I
could be a reviewer.
I can also take a look.
Right. So we get Peter and Danielle. I can be the approver. Right. Peter and David, your topic next. C advisor less CRI stats.
Yeah, so this one, where ideally we'd move it to beta and define criteria for testing and performance benchmarks for both of the CRIs to be collecting the metrics and stats. So it's would largely be kind of refining the approach that we found when we met alpha stage last.
Yeah, I think we need work on both the runtime side to merge the changes for all the metrics and testing. I think, yeah, as Peter mentioned. So.
Do you plan to do it in this release? Would be okay to do?
Yeah, I would like to.
Sign me up for reviewing that then.
Yeah, I think this is like ongoing work on the runtime side, and then we see how much progress we can make.
Yeah, I think on the kubelet side, it'll mostly be, we kind of have passively talked about having a validation test for all of the T advisor metrics, and then also having like perf comparisons. So there won't be as much work on the kubelet side, but kind of just administrative stuff to make sure that we're dotting all our I's and crossing all our T's.
I wonder where we are on in case of documentation. I think documentation around metrics in kubelet is very weak in general. So if we can handle a little bit better documentation in this capital.
Absolutely, that's a great shout out. That was also on my mind. I forgot to mention it.
Thank you.
Right. Node local plugin support for pod admit handler, probably same status.
Yeah, it's rotten. We can ping author.
Okay. I'm wondering if we should go through all of the next ones. They may be rotten.
Yeah, we have 10 minutes left, and what is interesting here?
So there was one, I know, like David, you were interested in memory QoS. Are you able to work on it to take it to beta? I know Paco also came up last week with the question around the threshold.
Yeah, feel free to add me and Dixie on the memory QoS. I don't know if it's here or not. If not, we can add it to the doc. In the PEX as well.
Can you fill out this details here? I can send a document in the chat.
Sure, yeah, we'll fill it out.
And I also want, I also want to say about memory swap. I plan to work on that. I was planning to work on it before, but now I have more time. So is anybody who wants to be a reviewer, approver?
Sure.
Yeah, I think you have interest on the Red Hat side as well. Ryan, if
yeah,
you're
I
on
can
the
also be a reviewer.
Yeah, I can volunteer too.
Also happy to help landing any of the last stuff.
How can we have you as approver?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think it'll be good to make progress on the other one as well, the CRI image pulling, but I'm not sure if we can poke the authors and see, because they were keen to do it in 126, but missed the deadline.
Which one, sorry? I missed it.
The CRI image pull progress.
Oh, yeah. That would be nice to have.
And another one I didn't see is the seccomp by default GA. I'll check with Sasha and see what's his plan.
Yeah. So I want to go through permabeta again, just to double check what we want to do there. Up armor we discussed, we will ping team, QoS reserved. Is there any updates on that?
Ryan, were you able to take a look?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
So
Okay,
we need
it's still open. Yeah, Ryan is gonna. Yeah, we can cover it next time.
Yeah, it wasn't touched for a long time, so maybe we can remove it. I discussed this with SIG OS. They need help with documentation mostly. Feature can be released as is. So if anybody interested in doing this work, please speak up or reach out to me. Otherwise, I may have time to help with that. This important.
Yeah, I might have time to.
Continue. Thank you.
I assume between the two of us, we'll get it over the line.
Perfect.
Yeah, Sergey, I'm looking into this one. I'll add an update by end of the week.
This we have discussed. Topology manager, yeah, it's in release. This one, downward API huge pages.
Yeah, so Sasha is gonna work on that one.
You want to put it in list of caps?
Yeah, I think we moved up there.
I did on that. Okay, I will fill out details later. And finally, yeah, this one we discussed and Ryan is taking it. This is great. We may end up with no permabetas.
I think we have a lot of items, Sergey. So I think in the next meeting we probably need to prioritize and see where realistically what we can handle.
Yeah, what we can do is to get this list and like make it cleaner and see how we're doing in terms of capacity of reviewers and approvers.
Yep.
Okay. So we have 7 minutes left. Let's try to get through the items relatively quickly. I think we covered this one. There are more comments here.
I made a mistake when I was filling out this doc. On the other features, I added a feature that I presented at the batch group. Can we go to that? Back to that SIG Node one. I added it last week, and I guess I missed. Sorry, the other features, there was an option about adding a condition for when pods are stuck and pending. I presented this at the batch working group, and they suggested if I want to work on a potential KEP for this release, I would want to at least add it to this list, but I guess I missed adding it to the table. So I don't know. It was in the other feature.
Are you talking about the supplemental groups?
No, sorry. SIG Node kept planning. There was a other features option that I think I added last week, and then this doc completely changed. Scroll down. Sorry.
Oh, here.
Yeah. So yeah, this was I presented this at the batch working group where it's kind of related to the retriable KEP. This is my first proposal for Kubernetes, so I was mostly hoping to start a kept process in 1.27. I doubt it will be fully done, but I wanted to know if that would be possible. So mostly this is like for batch users, you run into problems where people mess up an image name, or you have an invalid config map, or secrets or volumes that aren't getting mounted correctly, and your pod stays in pending. And I've noticed that at least in my team, we have a lot of code around regular expressions around matching against events, which is not very stable from release to release. And yeah. I understand I can add this, like we can do this separately, but I'm not really sure the process yet.
So the idea to improve status reporting for pending pods?
Yeah, a condition that kind of reflects pods that are stuck due to configuration errors. And some of these might involve with like this config map volume missing. I noticed this is an interesting one where volumes don't give information about the condition or a reason in the container. They just have an event that says whether or not it failed to. This one says mount volume setup failed, and this is kind of a case where we match on the event regular expression rather than looking at a container reason. And some of these other ones are related to like invalid image name, image never pull, like those are errors that happen, and then the pod gets stuck in pending. I can discuss later if I know we're at over time or at time, but I was hoping to at least start a discussion about a design for this 1.27.
Hey, one quick note on that. We are tracking, I think, one cap around like pod conditions around whether a pod is getting successfully started and when that's happening. So I think that was like the last row in the table. You can maybe take a look at that, and maybe we can also discuss if there's something that's common that may be solved based on what you're observing and your use cases.
Is that the pod has network? Or
yeah, exactly, right. I mean, the name has been discussed quite a bit, and we came up with a new name, but yeah, I was wondering if you already took a look and if
I looked at it this morning. I will look at it again.
Cool, thanks.
And I will see. Yeah, that might be okay.
Hey, Deep, I don't see your cap on the list. If you can add it.
Yeah, sorry, I added it in the last row, but maybe I think the 1.26 cut happened above that. So I'll move it up, I guess.
I can do it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder.
Thanks.
Yeah, and sorry, I forgot who was speaking.
Oh, sorry, it's Kevin Hannon.
Okay. Yeah.
Different
So,
Kevin.
Yeah, if you can take a look at this cap and see if those can be combined together or somehow improved, it would be great. We will save on some paperwork. If not, come to next meeting and we'll have more time.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll look at it.
Okay. Let's go through topics really quickly. Swati, do you want to discuss it now and move to the next one?
Yeah, so the first one is already addressed, like we've decided to move ahead with the GA graduation. The second item that I have here is lack of multi-NUMA systems, which could be a key blocker for this work. The feature is beta, but actually the end-to-end tests are not executed on the CI because they don't have multi-NUMA. And Sergey, we discussed this in the SIG Node CI meeting last week. I ended up creating an issue in the test infrastructure repo that we have. If people could take a look at that, that would be really helpful. And essentially the goal is that we have some machines specifically for features like topology manager, memory manager, CPU manager that can exercise some of these multi-NUMA capabilities. And if people have thoughts on this, like I would really like to hear that.
Have you spoken with Equinix Metal yet? Because they have some clusters designated for CNCF projects. So if we can get on those, that might be a good idea.
Yeah, I think as part of test infra itself, like we're having discussions on possible machines. So I looked into AWS. Sergey helped out and provided some machines that from GCP side that could be suitable for this. But again, like it depends on what is the cheapest option. If Equinox provides us the cheapest machine, I think we can go with that. I'm just looking for input in terms of if as SIG Node, do we want to kind of move this forward and, I don't want to say put pressure, but maybe influence the test infra group to make such nodes available in the test infrastructure.
Yeah, I can help with that. We can, we can always play with frequency of test execution and run them weekly, for instance. It's not ideal, but if price concern is too big, it can help.
Okay. So yeah, if people have comments on that, please leave your input on the issue itself, and that would be really helpful.
Next topic, I wanted to discuss CRI API policies. We can move to next meeting. Vinay has an update on in-place vertical scaling. Vinay, if you want to call, I hope you don't mind moving it to the next meeting. Derek and Don is not here. I updated the teams based on owner files. If you can approve this, it will be great. It's part of year-end cleanup of all the files. And Marlo, if you want to say more about the meeting on Thursday or what we've been doing, you have maybe 1 minute.
Yeah, basically we had the initial discussion. There are some concerns that we need to address, but the model is somewhat sound. We'll have to address them. So basically we need some way to bootstrap at the very beginning before the resource managers come online. If we're using something external, I don't remember what else. I have a list somewhere. But please do meet with us if you have time and concerns, because we're trying to give as much input as possible.
Okay, and please post the meeting time again on SIG Node Slack channel so everybody know when and where.
It's already on Slack. I sent it to the mailing list and it's in this chat here.
Great. Okay, with that, we out of time. Thank you everybody for staying 2 minutes late. And have a great holidays. I think it's the last meeting this year. Meet you all in January. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.